for her? What are voters
not at all.
voting for Hillary?
It's a stark contrast, right? I've mentioned the things that they're voting against in Trump, and I've mentioned the things they're voting for in Secretary Clinton, right? Continued strong economic growth like we've had over the last 8 years, and expanded to not leave anyone behind. An economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top, but includes working class families and middle class families, right? And a country that says we are America, we're working together, and that we truly are stronger together, not someone or a campaign or a party that seeks to divide us by what we look like, or what gender we are, or what race we are, or what religion we are.
We know that you've been working really hard, and it all comes down to tonight. So we're going to see Dave later on tonight. We'll be at the location tonight to get the results, and maybe we'll be talking again when we get some more information. Dave, it's great to have you. Thanks so very much. Really appreciate it. John?
Well, Jenna's there in North Carolina. I'm in Ohio, but there is another state likely to play a pivotal role in today's race. Donald Trump hopes to flip a state that hasn't voted Republican since Ronald Reagan, while Senator Ron Johnson is hoping to become the first Republican in Wisconsin since 1980 to win a Senate seat in a presidential year. Mike Tobin, live in Janesville, Wisconsin. Mike?
And John, that's exactly it. That's the race that has people watching the Badger State because it could contribute to the balance of power in the Senate. And that is the rematch with Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican, and Democrat Russ Feingold. Johnson came from behind to what is now a dead heat. He has been barnstorming the Badger State here in the final days, and he has been joined by Wisconsin's conservative power bloc. With Ron Johnson's election, Wisconsin control, who controls the United States Senate? If you want to see anything get done, pass it in the House, get it from the Senate, and get it on a Republican president. Ron Johnson's got to get reelected.
When it comes to the U.S. Senate, in particular, we get to choose between whether or not we want someone who has Washington values, Wisconsin values.
Now, turnout here at Edison Middle School in Janesville, Wisconsin, has been high, not overwhelming. The early voting here in Wisconsin has broken a lot of records. It's particularly high in the liberal stronghold of Dane County, home to Madison. Senator Johnson, however, says he's not sweating that.
The people voting early, they've made up their minds. Nothing's going to change it. So what we have going for us is all the momentum. All the independents are breaking toward us.
Now, House Speaker Paul Ryan is from Janesville here. He does have an opponent in the general election. They're not particularly concerned about the opponent. The Speaker is more concerned with Republican unity and the size of the majority following this election. John?
Mike Tobin. Mike, thank you. We also want to bring you the scene in another closely watched state. We're talking about New Hampshire. That state is a toss-up, according to our Fox electoral scorecard. Both nominees wanted 4 electoral votes. So who will voters from the Granite State choose?
I voted for Trump. I feel Hillary is very corrupt. And I read in the beginning, but I have read a lot of different things about her. So I feel it's time for Trump.
I voted for the next president of the United States, Hillary Clinton, to bring this country back together, because that's what we need.
I voted for Hillary Clinton, mainly because I hate Donald Trump, and I don't think he's a good option for our country.
I voted for Donald Trump, and because I agree with his positions.
New Hampshire also delivered the first Election Day poll results. Under state law there, communities that have less than 100 voters can open their polls at midnight and close them when all of the registered voters have cast ballots. Donald Trump off to an early lead there, winning 3 precincts, 32.
Out there, all doable, but it requires a political will. I think it's possible, given the personality of influences within the party.
You look better in New York.
I feel better in New York.
We'll see you later tonight.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, Charles Groundhammer.
Better in the Big Apple, right? All right. So both campaigns are keeping a very close eye on the state of North Carolina tonight. The Tar Heel state, a potential bellwether, 15 electoral votes up for grabs there. So let's check it out with Jonathan Seri, who's live in Raleigh right now. So the candidates did a bit of last-minute campaigning in the state where we find you today, Jonathan.
Yeah, not much sleep for the candidates. Hillary Clinton's been calling into radio stations in key states, including North Carolina. And just a few hours earlier, she was holding a rally at NC State University, a rally that went from midnight until about 1 a.m. She was joined on stage with recording artists Lady Gaga and John Bon Jovi, along with her husband Bill and daughter Chelsea. Mrs. Clinton called on her supporters to cast their ballots and then work to heal a divided nation. Listen.
To bridge the divides in this country. As the Bible says, we have to repair the breaches. We've got to be willing to start listening to each other again, respecting each other again.
Yesterday afternoon, Donald Trump held a rally at the North Carolina State Fairgrounds. He, too, urged supporters to make their voices heard at the polls.
You know, we're in a rigged system, folks. We're in a rigged system. You got to go. You got to vote. Got to make sure that vote gets registered in there. Real change also means restoring honesty to our government.
And coming back out to our live site at this polling place, it has not been crowded this morning, but steady as voters come in and out. But perhaps the real story is going to be early voting. Before the polls even opened at 6:30 this morning, 3.1 million North Carolinians had already cast their ballots in early voting. That's more than 2/3 the number of North Carolinians who voted over the course of the entire general election back in 2012. Martha?
Gonna be an exciting night. Lots of changing dynamics out there. Jonathan, thank you so much.
A whole lot of twists and turns over the past 15 months or so. Been a rough one at times, folks. You know that. Anger on both sides, boiling over. Is this the new normal in America when it comes to our politics? Fair and balanced debate on that as our coverage continues. It is Election Day, America. Time to vote.
Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to seek the office of the presidency of the United States.
It is a choice between division or unity, between strong, steady leadership or a loose cannon.
In life, you have to adapt to your environment. That's why Jaguar's instinctive all-wheel drive system constantly monitors the road surface and driver inputs hundreds of times every second. Outstanding performance all year round. Jaguar all-wheel drive. For great offers, visit your local Jaguar retailer during the Unwrap a Jaguar sales event.
Duncan just protected his family with a $500,000 life insurance policy. How much do you think it cost him? $100 a month? $75? $50? Actually, Duncan got his $500,000 policy for under $27 a month, less than $1 a day. His secret? SelectQuote. In just minutes, a SelectQuote agent will comparison shop nearly a dozen highly rated life insurance companies and give you a choice of your 5 best rates. Duncan's wife, Cassie, got a $350,000 policy for under $13 a month. Give your family the security it needs at a price you can afford. Since 1985, SelectQuote has saved over 1 million families millions of dollars on life insurance. Call now or go to SelectQuote.com. Discover what over 1 million families know. We shop, you save.
If you could be more heart healthy just by drinking a glass of earthy vegetable juice daily, would you do it? Probably not. But what if this performance-enhancing veggie was transformed into a great-tasting circulation superfood drink? It's called Super Beets, and I can help you try it risk-free. Super Beets is loaded with vegetable dietary nitrates that boost nitric oxide levels in your body. This equals an increase in energy and stamina without stimulants. Dietary nitrates are incredible for supporting healthy blood pressure, too. I take Super Beets as my pre-workout in the morning and as a non-jittery pick-me-up in the afternoon.
I immediately felt like I was 10 years younger.
Within, 30 minutes of taking it, I felt a difference.
Get a free canister of Super Beets with your first order. Get a free book called Beat the Odds on how to improve your health with Beet Nutrition, plus nitric oxide indicator strips to monitor your dietary nitrate levels before and after. Try Super Beets. You'll love it.
Call 1-800-632-4230 or go to getsuperbeets.com.
Let's talk about your bad breath. It can really ruin the moment. Use TheraBreath mouthwash to instantly knock out bad breath, spit, and help restore confidence.
What makes a great custom suit? Fabric sourced from the finest Italian mills. Details handpicked by you. And made right here in America in just 3 weeks. I'm Joseph Aboud. This is my custom suit. Now available at Men's Warehouse.
Donald Trump is temperamentally unfit to be commander-in-chief. Don't take my word for it. Listen to the Republicans who've refused to support him. He lacks a basic understanding of the world, justifies torture, suggests abandoning our allies.
What was that all? All right, President Obama last night slamming Donald Trump and the tone of his campaign as he was rallying in Philadelphia. Both sides have been guilty of some very harsh rhetoric in the course of this campaign. So let's bring in two people to fight about it, shall we? Julie Roginski, Democratic strategist and Fox News contributor, and Morgan Ortagus, national co-chair of the Maverick PAC and a former Treasury Department financial intelligence analyst. Welcome, ladies. Good to have both of you with us today. I mean, it really has, when you think back over the course of this thing, you know, you think about the people are disgusted by all that.
They are. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it, but it does motivate people to come out and vote on both sides. I voted for an hour on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to vote today, and the line was...
So you voted for 1 hour because you couldn't decide who to vote for, or you were waiting online?
No, the line was literally snaking around the block, and I've never seen anything like it. And I say that because I think it really has motivated people. I'm not so sure that people are coming out to vote for somebody. I think they're coming out to vote against somebody, and that's not just in my neighborhood, which is fairly liberal, but I think all across the country, places like Mississippi, I'm sure, are coming out to vote against Hillary Clinton as much as they are coming out to vote for Donald Trump. In some ways, and it does clarify choices for them, but I'm not sure what it means for the Republic going forward and how we potentially even try to unify tomorrow morning.
I mean, no matter who wins, I really hope that in that acceptance speech, they reach out to the people who didn't vote for them. Because both of these individuals would need to do that, I think, in a very sincere way to begin this process of bringing this country together, Morgan.
I think you're exactly right, Martha, but I don't think it happens in a speech tonight, and I don't think it happens overnight. I would argue that the tone of this campaign has actually been set for the past 8 years. It was President Obama who rammed Obamacare through a Democrat-controlled Congress without working with Republicans. It was President Obama who secretly started negotiating with Iran without consulting Republicans in Congress. Same thing, President Obama, who opened relationships with Cuba without talking to Cuban Republican members of Congress. So we haven't had the past 8 years of either side working together, and it's frustrating as a Republican for the Republicans constantly to get blamed on this whenever even Democrats have criticized the president for not working across the aisle.
Yeah, well, you think about the other side, you know, and I think about the basket of deplorables, right? That comment that I think really went right to the heart of so many Americans who look at what Donald Trump talks about and says, you know, I'm not a racist. I'm not any of the things that you are referring to me as, but I do feel, you know, that they would say that they feel like they've been left out of the picture.
Yeah, I mean, look, that was an unfortunate comment. Certainly his comments about women and Latinos, and I can go on and on. Pocahontas yesterday when he referred to Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts have been unfortunate as well. I think it's unfortunate that Mitch McConnell said that his only priority in the first term of Obama's administration was making sure Obama was going to be a one-term president. Look, Washington has gotten so toxic. I haven't worked there in almost 20 years, but it had gotten toxic when I was there. It's gotten only worse since I've left, and I think it's going to continue to get worse because, unfortunately, whether it's gerrymandering with congressional districts or the permanent campaign that, thanks to cable news and thanks to other news outlets we now have to engage in all the time, people consistently feel that they have to campaign now. There's no committee anymore. Nobody goes out to dinner anymore. People fly back to their districts on weekends where they talk to their either Republican or Democratic constituents. And I don't know how to fix this. I wish I were going to wake up tomorrow morning and say, kumbaya, we have a president.
I was talking about this piece earlier in the National Review, a piece about post-Goldwater and Ronald Reagan and the emergence of Ronald Reagan, and how when you look back at the things that he said, he really did sort of bridge that gap and reach out to people and talk about the innate goodness of the country and of the people in this country. Anybody on the horizon who might make that happen, Morgan?
Well, I think that both candidates, whoever wins tonight, you have to respect the voters. What we have now, and we all see this going on our Facebook, on our social media feeds, the people who are for Trump are calling anyone who votes for Hillary an idiot, and vice versa. The people who are for Hillary are saying everyone who's for Trump is a racist.
It's so sad. I mean, that really is so sad. And I do think that social media is to blame in many ways, because it gives you this smoke screen, and you can just lash out at people in a way that's really unfeeling and wrong. And I think that that's one of the reasons that we've seen all this. We gotta go. I gotta look. Okay. I'm gonna have the last word, I guess, on that one. Thank you so much. It's great to see you both as always.
Entitled. Your show. We're going to take you to North Carolina in a moment. We will take you to Ohio in a moment. How are things shaping up today on voting day? Will Ohio lead yet again? We're in Cleveland, and we are in Raleigh, North Carolina. Next.
This program is brought to you by PXG. You've never played like this before.
At PXG, our company colors are black and white for a reason. The golf club either looks sexy or it doesn't. It either launches higher and goes further, or it doesn't. It either feels softer, is unbelievably forgiving, and has a sweet spot the size of Texas, or it doesn't. The golf club is either good enough to be called the world's finest, or it isn't PXG. Nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Wouldn't a deal on car insurance involve two parties discussing something? Why not give you some say, or let your driving do the talking?
Liberty Mutual Right Track finally puts you in control, with savings of up to 30%, with an initial discount just for signing up. Take control of your rates. Visit a local office or call Liberty Mutual today at 1-888-663-3155. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I owe the IRS $10,000. The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay. Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, stop the pain, and get you the best deals. I call Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
56-5346, 800-756-5346.
You guys better be more professional than you look. It doesn't have a red dot on it. What's going to happen?
We're going to take it home.
It stays here.
Oh.
Everything with a red dot stays here. Breakage policy? Yeah, we don't have one.
Are you guys in my pool?
You have a pool? I didn't think you clowns could screw this up anymore, huh?
Yeah, I love the ballet.
Check out the Unmovers at youtube.com/Optimum. Optimum, let's connect more.
Schumacher Chevrolet is now New Jersey's premium commercial truck dealer. Come see our large inventory of work-ready Chevy vans and trucks that are equipped to get the job done right. Purchase your next commercial vehicle from a dealership with integrity you can count on and a reputation you can trust. Now you can visit Schumacher Chevrolet at 3 convenient locations, in Clifton, Little Falls, and Denville. We're here to serve you and your business as we've always done for over 85 years. When you think commercial vehicles, think Schumacher Chevrolet. Come join the family.
When your skin is feeling rough and dry, soften up with Gold Bond Softening Lotion. Now with 2 times the shea butter, plus 7 nourishing moisturizers. Skin is soft, smooth, silky. Gold Bond Softening. Ultimate lotion, ultimate skin.
I love these parties. Till heartburn hits. That's it. I need to kick acid with Rolaids. Rolaids Advanced goes to work instantly for powerful relief of your worst heartburn, bloating, and gas. Now this is a party. Kick acid and gas with Rolaids Advanced.
Hey everybody, coming up on Happening Now from North Carolina, a key battleground state. I'm here reporting live. John Scott is out of the great state of Ohio as well, another key battleground. Just a fun fact to think about today. We're going to talk about all sort of political maneuvering that's happening in the state, but here's a fact to impress your friends. This is the only place in the world, North Carolina, where the Venus flytrap grows in nature. Is that a metaphor for politics? Who will get trapped here in this state? Which campaign is a question we'll explore coming up, top of the hour.
I'll watch for that answer. Jenna, thank you. Want to go to Ohio right now? Buckeye State, always a big prize, 18 electoral votes at stake, and Peter Ducey is live in Cuyahoga County. Cleveland, Ohio, and surprises so far. What have you found, Peter? Good morning there.
Good morning, Bill. There's no surprises yet, but there is some uncertainty here in Cleveland, and that's with the forecast. It is supposed to rain a little bit later on this evening, and the late afternoon, possibly it could start. And as you know, that's right around the time that people start getting off of work, they go to vote, and lines get longer. So that is something to keep an eye on, especially since officials here in Cuyahoga County at the Board of Elections are telling us they think that turnout here is going to be lower than it was 4 years ago. Now, lower for Cuyahoga County, where everybody is so involved because this is generally one of the most important swing states. The turnout that's low is 67%, which is much higher than other places in the country, but 40% of them have already cast their ballots. We're told that in-person early voting was up slightly, but mail-in early voting was down slightly. And you look behind us here in Cleveland at the Gunning Recreational Center, you can see it's not completely dead, but it is quiet right now.
Peter,
some of the lines that we saw earlier.
Sorry about that, Peter.
I forgot to vote. So we're jumping in here. There's the motorcade pulling up in front of PS 59 as we wait for him to get out of this motorcade and go in and do something that even Donald Trump years ago may not have imagined would ever come to pass. But he was on that stage with 17 other individuals. A lot of people thought that he would not run. Some thought it was a publicity stunt. There he is waving to the crowd. But he has been a committed campaigner throughout the course of this journey. You hear the crowds cheering him on as he goes in to vote. An extraordinary moment for Donald Trump. Melania, his wife, by his side. She spoke in Philadelphia last week, talked about her own immigrant experience and how much she wanted to be an American and a citizen. So she will vote as well, and no doubt will vote for her husband. We saw Eric Trump going in earlier this morning, but they are New Yorkers and in their hometown, casting their vote today in the Big Apple at PS 59. So quite a moment.
Julie Reginski was just talking about how the long lines are being reported. This anecdotal stuff here, but a lot of our friends and colleagues throughout New York City are talking about lines being very long already. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. What does that mean? What does that portend? Who knows? But I think what it tells us is how this campaign has captured the imagination, Martha, of, well, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of Americans. It has been the story in this country for more than a year.
And it's this extraordinary story of Donald Trump. You know, no matter how you feel about him, a businessman who crossed over into politics and proved that you could knock all those other folks off the stage, as he joked about when he was coming through. He's had a tremendous amount of stamina and energy for the campaign trail. I think that has really surprised a lot of people. He's high-fiving some of the kids who are at the school as he goes in to vote. But, you know, an extraordinary story for this man, to be sure.
Have a good time, everybody.
What are you hearing about early returns so far from your team? Very good?
Everything's very good.
Any states in particular?
It's very good, generally. I'm going to go this way.
I'm guiding you a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Yep, I got you.
I don't know if that was a photo ID or if it was a tip.
I know, it's hard to tell, right?
That person there picked up something there as a memento. I was over at Trump Tower just over the weekend and just trying to get a sense for the campaign in the final days. And Martha, it is such a unique operation. They're on the 14th floor. They take almost the whole floor in a U-shaped fashion, as you have seen as well. And I would say maybe there were 70 people working there, perhaps 80. And then you go across the river to Brooklyn at Hillary Clinton's headquarters, and you know the suggestion is that there were several hundred at a minimum. And it's really a difference in approach and style, certainly, for how these two have approached this.
We also saw Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump going in to vote just moments ago. He has become really such a strong confidant and advisor to this campaign. I think the story, regardless of what happens here tonight, goes on for this family that has become very prominent on the national political scene, and I believe we have not heard the last of the rest of the Trumps either. So
we've got a huge day ahead and a very big night tonight. We'll see you then.
See you later, Jeff.
Good luck, America.
A Fox News alert: after more than a year of campaigns, debates, primaries, and caucuses, it comes down to the day that America decides. Hello, everybody. I'm Jenna Lee in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And I'm John Scott here in Columbus, Ohio, where they're ringing the church bells behind me. Polls are open across the country, and voters are lining up to choose the 45th president of the United States. After the candidates crisscrossed some of the biggest battleground states yesterday, Hillary Clinton voted this morning in New York, and we just saw Donald Trump at a public school where he is casting his ballot in Manhattan. We have live Fox News team coverage. Mike Emanuel is in Chappaqua, New York, with the Clinton campaign. But we begin with senior national correspondent John Roberts in New York City. John.
John, good morning to you. Donald Trump arrived here at PS 59 on 56th Street between 3rd and 2nd Avenues just a few minutes ago to cast his vote for president. Donald Trump confirmed to us on Fox and Friends this morning that, yes, he will be voting for himself. He arrived here along with his wife Melania, his daughter Ivanka, and son-in-law Jared Kushner. We will have some pictures inside, by the way, because the pool camera did go inside with them, and we'll bring those to you just as soon as they get transmitted. Trump plans on spending the rest of the day at Trump Tower, obviously working on speeches. You've got to have two speeches on Election Day, one in case you win and one in case it doesn't go your way. The interesting thing, we don't know yet what the theme of his speech will be, whether he will seek to win or lose, unify the country after what has been a rancorous and divisive election. The last 72 hours of this campaign, Donald Trump went to 10 states, 14 different events in all of the big battlegrounds, also tried to expand the map a little bit, going into places like Michigan and Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Virginia. He has a very narrow path to 270 electoral votes to try to see if he can give himself a little bit of a buffer. On Fox and Friends this morning, predicting that he's going to do very well today. Here's Trump.
I think we're going to win Iowa and Ohio and New Hampshire. We're going to win a lot of states. I mean, who knows what happens ultimately, but we're going to win. I think one that's going to be interesting is Michigan, because it's not a state that's gone Republican for many decades.
Michigan was his final stop of his campaign after midnight last night, not wrapping up until after 1 o'clock in the morning out in Grand Rapids, believing that his message of bringing automobile manufacturing jobs back to Michigan will resonate well with non-union and union workers alike. He was also in Manchester, New Hampshire, a state that he would really like to win with his 4 electoral votes. In fact, he might not be able to get the Oval Office without New Hampshire, saying that Tom Brady, the 4-time Super Bowl champion quarterback of the Patriots, had called him to say that he voted for him. Haven't been able to confirm that with Brady's people, but Donald Trump also reading a letter that was sent to him by Bill Belichick, the coach of the Patriots. Here's Trump reading from that letter last night in Manchester. Listen.
You've proved to be the ultimate competitor and fighter. Your leadership is amazing. I have always had tremendous respect for you, but the toughness and perseverance you have displayed over the past year is remarkable. Hopefully tomorrow's election results will give the opportunity to make America great again.
As we said, Donald Trump has been trying to expand the electoral map. Don't know if he can do that in places like Michigan, Minnesota, Virginia, and others. But what he really needs to do, John, is he needs to win everything that Mitt Romney won in 2012 and needs to add Nevada, Iowa, Ohio, Florida, New Hampshire, and the 2nd congressional district in Maine. He was leading in a lot of those states heading into the election. Not Florida, though. Well, it was kind of really even up more than anything. If he gets all that, he gets to exactly 270, and he becomes the president. John?
That Bill Belichick letter won't help him in Seattle, but he wasn't going to win in Washington State anyway. John Roberts.
It will help him in New Hampshire. All right.
It sure will. Thank you, John. Jenna?
Well, Hillary Clinton leaving her home this morning to cast her vote along with her husband and former President Bill Clinton in Chappaqua, New York. That's where we find our senior political correspondent, Mike Emanuel, who joins us live from there. Mike?
Well, Jenna, I'm told by a senior Clinton campaign aide that Hillary Clinton is preparing 2 speeches for tonight for whatever the outcome. After all, it is voting day. Earlier, there was a lot of excitement at the local elementary school when Hillary Clinton and her husband, the former president, turned out to vote. Clinton seemed to be in good spirits after her final day of campaigning ended with her getting home around 4 a.m. or so. A senior campaign aide tells me the Clinton team feels like they left it all on the field, with her final stops wrapping up a grueling 2016 cycle. After voting and greeting some supporters, Clinton spoke about this moment in history.
It is the most humbling feeling, Dan, because, I know how much responsibility goes with this, and so many people are counting on the outcome of this election.
After voting, Clinton has been calling into radio stations in some strategic locations, one in Charlotte, North Carolina, for a mostly light interview, but she did weigh in on a big controversy there, the debate over bathrooms.
I always loved being in North Carolina. Last night at this big rally that we had in Raleigh, Bill said something which he and I have talked a lot about. When we were in Arkansas and he was a young governor trying to figure out how to improve education and create economic opportunity, everybody looked at North Carolina as the model.
Clinton is expected to do more work on her speeches in the upcoming hours. Then about mid-afternoon, I am told that she will head to a New York City hotel to be in position for election night. Jenna?
Mike, we're going to talk a little bit more about that rally last night in just a moment. Thank you so much. John?
Sure. A long and contentious election season, all coming down to decision day now. Voters lining up at polling places across the country this morning. But a record number of Americans have already made their choice. More than 46 million people voted before Election Day this year. Let's bring in Charlie Hurt of the Washington Times. Guy Benson is political editor for townhall.com, both of them Fox News contributors. Despite all of the rancor this election season, Charlie, do you take some heart in the early voting numbers?
Oh, yeah. I know that everybody's sort of wringing their hands right now talking about what a rancorous election it's been. But the truth is, this was a much needed wake-up call for both Republicans and Democrats, in the political establishment, that things were not working and have not been working for a long time. So whatever happens today, I think, this is an important step that America had to go through. And I do think that one of the things that I've always admired about Donald Trump's campaign is that it has energized a lot of people that have kind of checked out of the process for a long time. And that's a good thing. Having people vote in huge numbers is a very good thing for our democracy.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm here in Ohio, Guy, where last presidential election, something like 72% of the eligible population voted, way above the national average. But this year, it seems like, the whole country is engaged for one candidate or the other, but very much engaged in the process.
Yeah, everyone's watching. It's been a wild one. And one thing to your previous question, John, that's just been fun and cool to see. I was just scrolling in the chair here through Instagram, my Instagram feed, and I have friends across the political spectrum, people that I know are all in for Trump, all in for Hillary, and people that I don't even know where they exactly stand, taking selfies with their I voted stickers. People are proud of our democratic process in this republic. People are excited to be taking part in that process, even if everyone isn't totally thrilled about the two options. It's a very important election, and it's, of course, crucial to remember tomorrow morning the sun will rise again. We will still be America. The republic will go on, and will hopefully start to come together, because it has been a really divisive year.
So, Charlie, give us your sense of where things stand today. I mean, people are casting their votes. A couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump was, said to be 10 or 12 points behind. And we don't broadcast polls on Election Day, but clearly he has made this a race.
Oh, I mean, it's been the unlikeliest of elections that certainly I've ever seen. arguably never should have won the Republican nomination in the first place. He came out very much running against Republicans, attacking the Republican establishment, and then turns around and manages to win the nomination, and then go on to stay very much in the fight to the very end. People predicted that he would be out of this in midsummer, but he is largely on his own instincts and disregarding all sort of
and
traditions.
Let me just interrupt you to say we are seeing live pictures from New York City as Donald Trump exits the school where he and I believe Ivanka both voted. He's about to get into his SUV, and one of the questions is there some more campaigning ahead? Last time around, the candidates made surprise trips to Ohio, where I am right now. There could be a plan for Donald Trump to jump onto his 757 and head off to one of the important states. Sorry, Charlie, for the interruption. Just wanted to bring that to our viewers. Donald Trump is emerging from his voting location in New York City. Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, it is an amazing place that we find ourselves today, because all the predictions have been that that Donald Trump would have been out of this by now. But whether he manages to succeed ultimately. The fact that he has come this close, I think, is a clarion call to the party establishment and political establishment that things need to change in Washington.
Yes. And Guy, I suppose one could argue that Hillary Clinton represents the establishment. Is this a change election?
It is a change election. That's why this is such an interesting one and a fascinating dynamic that I think political scientists will be studying for a very long time. It is very difficult for the in-party to win a third consecutive presidential election historically. And if you look at the right track, wrong track numbers, most Americans, a large majority, are dissatisfied with the direction of the country. And Hillary Clinton has all that going against her, in addition to how disliked she is and distrusted she is by the American people. And yet, structurally, she has a bunch of advantages. If you believe the polls, she's going to win tonight. So that's the question. Is the data going to be correct, or are these sort of winds of history blowing at Donald Trump back? Will they eventually prevail with some of these theories that we've heard about why the data could be wrong? I mean, from a pure political nerd standpoint, it is going to be really fun to watch this stuff come in.
Yeah, I'm here in Ohio, the state that has the best record of voting with the nation as to who's going to be president. We'll see what happens here in Ohio when the polls close at 7:30. Charlie Hurt, Guy Benson, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Well, John, last night I arrived in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was, past dinner time, but we had to get out on the street and really talk to the voters. And as you know, Hillary Clinton held a big rally last night at NC State. And when we arrived, the line was just snaking all over the block, all around the block in the student union. So many people waiting in line to get in hours before the event started. One of the things we were looking at, and we continue to look at today, is this unaffiliated voter, this person that's not a Republican or a Democrat, but a big voting block in this state. And when you look within unaffiliated voters, you have to look at millennials. What are they saying? And also, what about the mothers out there? Take a listen to some of the folks that we talked to last night. There have been some that have said, well, listen, we were excited about Bernie Sanders, but not as excited about Hillary Clinton. Do you feel that way?
Right. I mean, that's fair. And there were some people who were like Bernie or bust. And frankly, that just doesn't really make sense with the two-party system. That's just not how it's going to work. And I was actually a little bit convinced to vote Socialist Party for about a week. But then I realized that...
What happened in that week to change your mind?
I thought that 2016 is not the year to vote third party.
Now, what about the celebrity stuff, the celebrity endorsements and people showing up for her? Does that change your mind at all? Does that make you more motivated to vote for her?
Personally, I just believe in her politics. I think it's really cool that they have celebrities, but I believe that people should vote for what they truly believe in, not because a celebrity tells them to. But, I mean, it's all up to that person. I can't really control that.
Isn't it a school night, Mom?
It is a school night, but this is probably one of the best lessons in civics that they could possibly get. So we're happy to have him here.
And Mom, have you already voted?
I have not. I vote tomorrow because I'd like to be part of the frenzy. I sort of like the excitement. He's voted early, and these guys aren't ready yet.
That's right, part of the frenzy. There will be some frenzy today, certainly, as polls are open here in North Carolina. Remember, Fox News is America's election headquarters.
We have live coverage all day, all night, for the latest results and reaction and fair and balanced analysis as America chooses our next president. So keep it right here on the Fox News channel. John?
Well, Jenna is in North Carolina. It is a key state in play on this election day. Up next, we'll take a look at how shifting demographics are changing the way North Carolina votes.
Carolina, can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine? Ain't it
Everything your family touches sticks with them. Make sure the germs they bring home don't stick around. Use Clorox disinfecting products, because no one kills germs better than Clorox. Feel secure in your dentures. Feel free to be yourself all day. Just switch from denture paste to C-Bond denture adhesive seals. Hold stronger than the leading paste all day without the ooze. Feel secure. Be yourself with stronger, clean C-Bond.
I've been a poor man and I've been a king. I've had my life and the world on a string. I've traveled many roads, but I'm so far from done. Good to know there's so much to live for. What a day to feel alive.
Tomorrow's the day we'll play something besides video games.
Every day is a gift, especially for people with heart failure. But today, there's Entresto, a breakthrough medicine that can help make more tomorrows possible.
Tomorrow, I want to see Teddy make his first hook.
In the largest heart failure study ever, Entresto was proven to help more people stay alive and out of the hospital than leading heart failure medicine. Women who are pregnant must not take Entresto. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. Don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or allospirin. If you've had angioedema while taking an ACE or ARB medicine, don't take Entresto. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high potassium in your blood.
Tomorrow, I'm going to step out with my favorite girl.
Ask your heart doctor about Entresto and help make the gift of tomorrow possible.
Every home repair or improvement project should start with a pro you know you can trust. That's why for over 15 years, homeowners have trusted HomeAdvisor to find only the best home pros. It's a totally free service that instantly connects you with top-rated pros who have passed criminal and financial background checks. In fact, HomeAdvisor is the nation's #1 network of pre-screened pros and has been used by more than 30 million homeowners. So start every job with confidence at HomeAdvisor.com.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
Welcome back to Happening Now, everybody. Coming to you live from Raleigh, North Carolina. We've been mentioning it all day so far, and we'll continue to do so, how important this state is for the results of who becomes the next president of the United States. One of the things we're looking at here is early voting, specifically early voting results. And in the county that Raleigh's in, we've seen a record turnout for early voting. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that with Joe Stewart, Executive Director of the North Carolina Free Enterprise Foundation. So, Joe, we've heard all sorts of things about early voting. You're the one guy in the state that everyone quotes and everybody trusts when it comes to voting. So what is the truth about early voting in North Carolina?
Well, we've seen a record turnout this year, and I think some part of it is being driven by the fact voters are so engaged and enthusiastic about this election. There's been a lot of coverage, a lot of news about it. But North Carolina is a fast-growing place, but the growth is not even. It's been principally in the metropolitan parts of North Carolina. In fact, since 2010, almost half of the state's counties are actually smaller in population than they were when the census was taken. But fast-growing places like Wake County see dramatic growth, people moving from other parts of the country. They're a little bit more nationally oriented as voters, and so they take their cue from whatever's happening on the national stage. And in this election year, it just means they're more engaged.
So what do the results of the early voting, we got those results on Saturday night. What do they tell you about the results that we might see come tonight?
Yeah, what we have to compare it with is 2012, a year when Mitt Romney, the Republican candidate for president, won the state very narrowly, about 88,000 votes. The performance of Democratic-leaning voters, what we know about their registration, race, and gender, and those sorts of things, it's a slightly less Democratic early vote than the results of 2012, which would tell us that it's probably a slightly less Democratic favorable balance between the candidates going into Election Day.
I'm sensing a however, though.
Well, the thing we may ask ourselves, and we'll know after today, is were people voting early that were already planning to vote on Election Day? Did some of the vote get cannibalized, as it were? The turnout on Election Day, typically a little bit more favorable to Republicans. We'll just have to see what the results are today.
Who is this unaffiliated voter that we hear so much about, and why is that so important to North Carolina?
It's a significantly fast-growing segment of our voting population. It's about 30% of the state's registered voters now, equal with the number of registered Republicans, and still slightly less than the number of registered Democrats. But over the last several years, unaffiliated voter registration has gone up, while there's been even just flat or modest losses of Republicans and some significant losses of registered Democrats. They're younger. They moved here from somewhere else, and they're more interested in candidates than they are necessarily on partisan label.
Interesting. Just an interesting fact for our viewers: 250 plus people every day are added here in North Carolina, either through migration or people having babies. So it is a growing state. What is the one thing, if you're watching one thing tonight, Joe, what is it? Give us a tip.
It really is, how do these metropolitan counties perform? Do we see significant turnout? Are these younger, less partisanly oriented, more recently arrived voters more likely to turn out on Election Day and participate? And what does that mean? This is really the election of the new North Carolina. It's a different population of people than it's been historically. We'll see what their attitudes are as voters after today.
We certainly will. It's going to be fascinating. It's exciting. Joe, thank you for visiting us here in our lovely location. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
John?
Ohio is known as the ultimate battleground state, as I sit here in Columbus, voting for the winning presidential candidate for more than 50 years now. It has the best record of all the states of going with the winner. So which way is the Buckeye State leaning as Ohio heads to the polls this time around? We'll take a closer look.
Hi, I'm William Devane. And right now, there's a serious discussion about who our next president will be: a Republican, a Democrat, an independent. The future of our country is hanging in the balance, which is why, as a good American, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to vote gold from Roslyn Capital. Buying gold from Roslyn helps protect me against runaway inflation and all that paper money being printed around the world by unstable governments. Whether you want new or old gold or premium collector coins, Roslyn has them all. And what you order is what you get. No gimmicks, no nonsense, no hassle. So do your part to protect your future. Vote and buy gold from Roslyn Capital. What's in your safe?
Call now and get a free gold kit, a free silver kit, and a free IRA transfer kit. Call 800-630-8900, 800-630-8900, 800-630-8900.
If you are approaching 65, now's the time to get your ducks in a row to learn about Medicare and the options you have. You see, Medicare doesn't cover everything. Only about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. So if 65 is around the corner, think about an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, they help cover some of what Medicare doesn't pay and could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. So don't wait. Call to request your free decision guide and gather the information now to help you choose a plan later. These types of plans let you pick any doctor or hospital that takes Medicare patients, and there's a range of plans to choose from, depending on your needs and your budget. So if you're turning 65 soon, call now and get started. Because the time to think about tomorrow is today. Go along.
Election Day. Go to foxbusiness.com and stream it all live. Starting at 4, we're streaming live and breaking down every result as it comes in. Imagine winning $1 billion and using all the money to help humanity.
Vote back taxes.
After being hit with the wage garnishment and the bank levy, Dave struggled with his finances. He thought all was lost. Then he found out about U.S. Tax Shield.
If you have been threatened with a wage garnishment, bank levy, or tax lien,
Call 1-800-395-5298.
Owed an enormous amount of money to the IRS. U.S. Tax Shield was able to reduce their tax debt so that they were able to maintain their lifestyle.
owe $15,000 or more to the IRS or state, call U.S. Tax Shield.
Call 1-800-395-5298.
The future of medicine at your hospital is the present medicine at our hospital.
Guest on our program, managing editor for the nonpartisan political newsletter Sabato's Crystal Ball. He's an Ohio native, and his book explains Ohio's record as a predictor of presidential results. Ohio has the best record of any state in voting for the winning candidate. Its results most often reflect the national voting average. Ohio also has provided the decisive electoral votes to the winning candidate more times than any other state. But this race could be unlike any other for the Buckeye State. This morning I was in Jack's Diner, spoke with a young man named Nicholas Wright who travels all over Ohio in his job as a repairman for a major real estate company. Here's what he had to say about the race.
Ohio will go with Trump, but I ultimately think that Hillary will be elected, so that's just my opinion, but we'll see. It's very exciting.
Ohio has been correctly picking the winner of the presidential election ever since 1964. And really, if you go back into the 1800s, it has an almost perfect record. With us now, Jay Shabria, former senior advisor to Ohio's governor, John Kasich, and a political expert of all things Ohio. So this young man, Nicholas Wright, we spoke to, travels the state, sees a lot more Trump signs out there. He thinks Ohio goes for Trump, but this could be one of the few rogue years that Ohio doesn't, go with the national mood, because he also predicts Hillary wins the presidency. How do you see it?
It's certainly possible that Trump wins this, and probably the safe money is on that. Right now, all my Republican friends say he's going to win by a point. That doesn't seem like that's a very safe place to be. Ohio's a true toss-up right now. Look, the problem for Trump right now is he's been chasing unicorns. Is he going to catch a unicorn? I don't know. He was out there in Minneapolis instead of going to states where would be a viable path for 270. Also, he's been spending a lot of time trying to turn out traditional Democrat voters as a crossover vote. That's a lot more effort and a lot more time than getting out Republican votes, safe Republican votes. And that's where the issue is going to be. It's all about the suburbs for Donald Trump. White Republican women are going to be depressed. How much are they depressed? We don't know. Those are the voters that Donald Trump needs to win Ohio, and that's going to be the issue for him right now.
Talk about Cuyahoga County. Yeah, that's always a Democratic bastion.
It's been considered the firewall for Democrats for years. You have to have a big turnout in Cuyahoga County if you're going to be a Democrat to win. What we've seen is in early voting, it's been depressed, and a lot of that's from the African American community, where there's not that much enthusiasm. But Franklin County, where you're sitting right now, this is Columbus, Ohio. It's had huge numbers so far, and the reports today are that the lines are out the door. So that could be the new firewall for Ohio, and that might be something to look at going forward in Ohio's future.
Columbus typically votes Democratic, but the surrounding rural areas in this particular county kind of balance that out.
Yeah, the collar counties are very Republican, and those are the counties where Donald Trump's had some trouble, where a lot of white suburban women are either not voting, or they're going to or they're going to vote for Hillary sometimes.
Now, no Republican has ever won the White House without winning Ohio. Yeah. Does Donald Trump have to win Ohio?
He has to win Ohio. That he doesn't win Ohio and he wins the presidency. But look, I think Ohio's going to be a late night, but the rest of the election might not be tonight.
All right, so a late night for Ohio means what? Midnight, 1 a.m.?
Midnight, 1 a.m. Hamilton County sometimes comes in really late, which is Cincinnati. So we could be in for a long night in Ohio, because no one gets above 51.5%. That's going to be a tight race.
And it's always tight in Ohio.
Tight,
research I've been doing says, it's usually a couple of points one way or the other.
That's right. And we don't have a significant Latino population to offset any lack of enthusiasm in the African American community that Hillary has. So where you see her big numbers nationally, that's a hard place for her to make up up here, and another reason why it's going to be tight here.
But how do you explain what you describe as a lack of enthusiasm in Cuyahoga County and all of a sudden this raging enthusiasm here in Franklin County?
But that's one of those things that none of us can quite put our finger on, and I think it's caught us all by surprise. Because usually Cuyahoga County, they get the souls to the polls, they get their turnout machine going, and it's just working for them. But this time it's not. And look, and Hillary campaigned with LeBron James up there. She campaigned with Jay-Z. She campaigned with Beyonce, and it's just not been there so far.
Wow. So, all right, Jay Shabria, it's going to be fascinating.
Thanks for having me.
Spending some time
Appreciate it
today. Appreciate it. Jenna.
Well, John, voting is well underway here in North Carolina. A few hours, the polls have been open. The state, as we mentioned, is setting a record this year in early voting, and we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about it with a political professor who's saying that North Carolina really is becoming a model for the rest of the country, so all the more reason to watch it. Also, more from Ohio in just a moment, where the Buckeye state voters have correctly chosen the president in every election since 1964. If only they could choose lotto winners. What happens there tonight? We'll talk more about it coming up.
Well, here we go again.
Bad judgment.
Issues, not insults.
She should be ashamed of herself.
Fair and balanced. Fox News Channel has election night covered because we are America's election headquarters.
Abdominal pain, bloating. You may have IBS. Ask your doctor if non-prescription IB-Guard is right for you. IB-Guard calms the angry gut. Available in the digestive aisle at CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid. This continues to be the world's most awarded luxury cruise line for over 22 years, and not just a one-hit wonder. We've crafted an all-inclusive, truly exclusive travel experience that's in a class, with ships that are more luxurious than the world's most upscale hotels, featuring elegant suites with butler service, glorious spas, open spaces, fabulous casinos, and exceptional dining. Iconic itineraries with overnight stays curated as only Crystal Cruises can, and unique tours ashore tailored to your personal style. Crystal shows you and your family the world with voyages ranging from 5 nights to 128 nights to all 7 continents. Take your next journey with Crystal Cruises, where all-inclusive is all-exclusive.
Looking for a Medicare prescription drug plan that could save you money? At United Healthcare, we offer 3 plans to choose from to help meet your needs, including one that's brand new for 2017. Introducing the AARP Medicare RX Walgreens plan insured through United Healthcare. It features $0 copays on all Tier 1 prescription drugs filled at Walgreens, one of our lowest monthly premiums, and the convenience of more than 8,000 Walgreens nationwide, including Dwayne Reed. So if you're on Medicare, call United Healthcare to discuss your prescription drug plan options. You can enroll right over the phone, or if you prefer, enroll online. But don't wait. The open enrollment period ends December 7th. The AARP Medicare RX Walgreens plan provides coverage for the most commonly used generic drugs. And when you fill your prescription at a neighborhood Walgreens, you could really save money. Get $0 copays for Tier 1 prescription drugs and a $0 annual deductible on Tier 1 and Tier 2 drugs. Call to see if your drugs are covered and get help understanding your drug plan options. We'll send you a free enrollment guide, even help you enroll right over the phone. Or you can enroll online. It's quick and easy. Remember, open enrollment ends December 7th. At United Healthcare, we're committed to helping you find the Medicare Part D plan that fits your needs and budget. That's why we offer 3 plans, like our new AARP Medicare RX Walgreens plan, with one of our lowest monthly premiums and $0 copays for Tier 1 prescription drugs when filling at any of the more than 8,000 Walgreens nationwide. Call United Healthcare today to learn more about your prescription drug options and find the plan that's right for you.
A critical decision, the choice that will decide who will lead our country. As America votes, no one brings it to you like Fox News Channel. Tonight, for fair and balanced coverage, stay with America's Election Headquarters.
You know, in every election, we like to compare this year to the past years. What does it look like this year compared to 2012 to 2008? But there's a reason why in North Carolina that's particularly difficult to do, and that's because, as we mentioned earlier in the program, about 250 people are added to the population of the state every single day. So that's migration from the north. Those are families growing. And so the state is changing quickly. Still, there is a tradition in the state of North Carolina. And we're going to talk a little bit about it with Jason Husser. He's a politics professor and director of the Elon University poll. We don't talk about polls today, Jason, but it's great to have you on the program. I know you've been looking at a lot of numbers. What is the tradition in the state of North Carolina when it comes to politics?
North Carolina has really been a red state for most of its history. In some ways, it was a reluctant swing state. George W. Bush won both elections with almost 13 points. For only McCain to lose by less than half a point in 2008. What we've really seen in North Carolina is a story of mass migration, primarily from northeastern areas to the state, and totally changing our state politics.
And so how is that changing the way that you're looking at this election cycle?
This election cycle is really important to find out where these folks in the big urban centers are turning out to vote. If we see high levels of turnout in places like Raleigh and Guilford County and Mecklenburg County, that's not necessarily the best sign for some campaigns.
Who would it not be the best sign for?
If we see high urban turnout, it's going to be really problematic for Republicans across the board. That said, it does seem that Trump has a great deal of enthusiasm in rural and suburban areas throughout North Carolina.
What has been an issue in particular that seems to be really motivating voters in this state?
In many ways, what we've been finding talking to folks across the state in our polls is really about personalities of the candidates. People concerned about Hillary Clinton personally, either things connected to emails or her past record, and then folks who sort of just have a sense of being fed up with the political system.
Now, it's not just the president that we're looking at. Of course, we're looking at the race for governor. That's going to be a tight race, and also a race for Senate, the senator here, which could change the makeup of the Senate for the entire country. What do you think is notable about those two races for voters that are not in the state?
The North Carolina governor's race has been one of the most contentious in the country. It is possible that we see an incumbent Republican lose the governor's race. That said, he's still got a very good chance going forward. The U.S. Senate race was one that a lot of folks didn't really think that much about. It wasn't on the radar screen that it was going to be that tight of a race. However, the Democrat has surged forward over time. That said, it does seem that the Republican incumbent, Richard Burr, has a pretty good chance going forward.
We're going to be talking about the bill, the HB2 bill. I know our viewers probably have heard about this bill before because it has prevented North Carolina from getting some big businesses coming in. Can you tell us a little bit about that bill and why that's going to be a factor in some of the races for governor or for Senate?
The HB2 bill has been the central issue in the governor's race. It's even come up in the presidential race and Senate race as well, even though it's really a state issue. HB2 started out as a controversy over largely a bathroom ordinance in Charlotte. The General Assembly passed legislation basically saying that no municipality could pass that type of legislation. It did other things as well, but primarily was about that. It's led to boycotts throughout the state. A number of big organizations have pulled out concerts in the state. We've also seen basketball games moving away from the state. Overall, a lot of voters are really opposed to HB2. That said, the question is it really motivating? Yes, people are upset that they've lost NCAA games, but is that enough to actually say, I'm going to pick somebody for the next 4 years over one issue?
It'll be interesting. As we're asking everybody, is there a single thing that you're really watching tonight that you can share with us that you think that's going to be the tipping point for either candidate for president?
In many ways, the big question to me is African-American turnout. If Hillary Clinton is not able to motivate African-Americans to get to the polls at the same level that Barack Obama did, it's going to be very difficult for her to win North Carolina. The major reason Barack Obama was able to surge ahead when George Bush had done so well in North Carolina was the fact we saw higher levels of African-American turnout.
But as you point out, he only won the state by less than a percentage point in 2008.
Barack Obama barely won the state, and he did so at record numbers for African-American turnout. And so if we don't see similar sort of atypically high numbers, it's going to be very difficult for Clinton.
Good news for Hillary Clinton.
Great to have you on the program. Thank you.
Good
Some great
news
insight.
for Hillary Clinton, except in certain particular groups of Hispanic voters. For instance, Cuban Americans tend to vote Republican. The Hispanic vote is not
one big group.
Right, and for some reason, everybody thinks it's one homogeneous group. No, these are very, very different groups of people. And something very interesting that I've seen happen. I had a friend who wanted to become a plumber in New York. This is an analogy. I'll try to do it quick. He hated the plumbing union because they wouldn't let him in, and it took him 8 years to get in. Once he got in, he didn't want anybody else getting in. I think you're seeing some of this type of reaction to second and third generation Hispanics. Once they become part of the society, they don't want more people coming in.
I wanted to ask you about the opinion polls as well, because we spoke to two pollsters earlier on, one Republican, one Democrat, and the same question was posed to them about the validity of the polls and whether there might be some doubts in people's minds as to how reliable they are. And obviously in this country, people are a little skeptical about opinion polls as a result of recent votes in various different ways. Are there shy Trump supporters out there? Are there Hispanics who don't necessarily get questioned as often as they should be out there, who aren't being factored in to the opinion polling, do you think?
I mean, you said it all, yes and yes. There's shy Trump voters and there's Hispanic voters who aren't being factored in. However, all these pollsters are going to be geniuses because they all say plus or minus 3%.
Which gets them out of difficulty.
Which gets them out of difficulty potentially. This is going to be a very close race. I believe strongly there will be a number of states which will be won by less than 1%.
Well, that's interesting in the context of some comments I'm just reading here that are being reported by Reuters. I think Donald Trump has been speaking to Fox News and says there are reports, he says, of problems with voting machines in various places, switching, he says, Republican votes to Democrat, and asked if he thinks that the election will not end tonight. Mr. Trump says, quote, "I have to look at what's happening out there."
Well, I remember 2000.
So do I.
Were you covering it then?
I was there, yes.
We all thought it was going to end that night. And somehow it didn't.
That took.
Yeah, I think it will end tonight. I hope it ends tonight. I look at this whole campaign as two divorced parents trying to make the children hate the other parent, the American public, that is. And we got to get this to stop for the betterment of America and for the entire world.
Because it hasn't looked good as a campaign, has it?
It has looked terrible. I mean, first of all, these are two very damaged people. These are two very partisan people. These, people really don't like them. Either of them.
And in that instance, as you hinted at the start of the conversation, what happens after tonight, irrespective of who wins, is still potentially quite messy, isn't it?
It's going to be messy. I believe strongly that if Mrs. Clinton gets elected, there will be hearings, and there will be hearings quite quickly by the United States Congress, the House, which will stay Republican.
Hearings into her recent behavior.
Yeah. Remember, even though she wasn't indicted, that has nothing to do with being impeached. And you may see an impeachment coming. I think that that's highly possible. Now, the Senate may not convict her. It takes 2/3 of the senators to convict her at the trial, but I believe strongly she will be impeached.
If Donald Trump were to win, there are clearly some people fairly high up in Washington circles who would do everything they can to stop him getting anywhere as well.
You are absolutely right. He is not the most liked person. Remember, Donald Trump is not a traditional conservative. Donald Trump is a populist who believes in some protectionism, who is against Bush's traditional worldview of America's international policy. And he is also really not a free market guy, and he's anti-immigration strongly, which does get a lot of support from conservatives.
In which case, from the Republican Party's point of view, they've got a lot of soul-searching to do about where they go, especially if he comes a close second, haven't they?
You're absolutely right, but remember, there's something going on now, and it's going on throughout the world. We're seeing this not just in America, we're seeing it in India with Modi, Narendra Modi.
Yeah.
We're seeing it, Marine Le Pen in France. We're seeing people fighting for their civic religion, for the way they want their country to be, and the way it was.
and they're not wrong, but they're not right either. And there is a great deal of dislike and distrust by all people of politicians.
Well, we only have a few more hours to wait.
Well, let's hope it's only a few more hours.
Yes, after the conversation we just had, maybe it's a lot longer than that. But anyway, we shall see. Mallory, thank you very much for your thoughts at this stage.
Thank you,
Mallory Factor. And just to let you know that Andrew Neil and Katty Kay will have full coverage as the results come in overnight. That's in a BBC One special programme. Election night in America, that's tonight from 11:15. Also broadcast here on the BBC News channel, of course. Now time for the headlines here on the BBC News. Millions of Americans vote to choose their next president. The first results are due by about 1 in the morning UK time. Prince Harry attacks the media over what he claims is racist and sexist harassment of his new girlfriend, Meghan Markle. The Metropolitan Police apologise after an independent review finds grave errors in their investigations into allegations of paedophilia by high-profile men. And the markets for you, a slight rise in London and in Frankfurt. And there you can see how the markets are faring in the States. Both the Dow and the Nasdaq are currently up a little as I speak. Now, the government's appeal against the High Court ruling that the Prime Minister must seek MPs' approval to trigger the process of taking Britain out of the European Union will be heard in the Supreme Court from the 5th of December. The hearing is expected to last for 4 days, with a decision expected in the new year. Theresa May has said that she is committed to starting talks on leaving the EU as planned by the end of March. Campaigners say MPs and peers have to scrutinise the government's plans beforehand. Ministers, though, say they can decide without this happening. Meanwhile, the Scottish Government has confirmed it will seek to oppose the UK Government at the Supreme Court hearing. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says the consent of the Scottish Parliament should be sought before Article 50 is triggered. A look at the rest of today's main stories as well now. Iraqi forensic teams have begun an investigation into a mass grave south of Mosul. The decapitated bodies were found yesterday near the town of Hammam al-Alil, which is liberated from the so-called Islamic State group on the weekend. Footage from the site shows bones and the decomposed remains from about 100 bodies. It's unclear who the victims are or when they were killed, but a soldier at the site pulled a child's stuffed animal from amidst the rubble. Of the teacher Anne Maguire could not have been predicted or preempted. That's according to an official review into the killing. She was stabbed to death in her classroom by a 15-year-old student 2 years ago. The Leeds Safeguarding Children Board says the attack couldn't have been foreseen, but it's made a series of recommendations to schools and to local authorities. From Leeds, our correspondent Spencer Stokes now reports.
The murder of a teacher in a school by a pupil is without precedent in the UK. In April 2014, 15-year-old Will Cornick stabbed his Spanish teacher Anne Maguire to death whilst she was teaching at Corpus Christi Catholic College in Leeds. The Learning Lessons Review has said that no one could have predicted what happened and there was no deficit in anyone's actions. Cornick, who's serving a 20-year sentence, was interviewed as part of the review and described going up the stairs to Spanish in a red mist, not conscious of his surroundings.
Will is now a young person of 18, and I think we are starting to see him make sense of what he did in a slightly different way than he did at the time. So, for example, he said to Nick Page, I wanted somebody to stop me. I was looking for somebody to stop me. And it's fair to say that's the first time he's ever said that, and he's had plenty of opportunity to do so.
Despite those claims, Cornick had been taking knives to school and telling friends verbally and through social media that he wanted to kill at least 3 teachers at Corpus Christi. His Facebook page showed the Grim Reaper. Friends didn't pass this on, perhaps, the report says, because of misplaced loyalty or a fear of retribution.
Pressure if you tell somebody I will harm you. I think he was a robust personality with what his friends see as a dark